Welcome everyone to our overview of the inclusionary practices for the Mukilteo School District. Together with the demonstration sites at the University of Washington Herring Center for Inclusive Education, the Mukilteo School District will be highlighting Mukilteo Elementary School's journey to developing stronger inclusionary practices with a concentration on reducing restraint and eliminating isolation. Before we begin our presentation today, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. The University of Washington acknowledges that we exist on the lands and waters of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coast Salish people. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the many Indigenous people who still thrive in this place, alive and strong. Next, I'd like to give some context to our partnership. The University of Washington Herring Center is contracted by OSPI and is a member of the Inclusionary Practices Technical Assistance Network, or IPTN. The IPTN is an intentional collective of technical assistance and support providers working together in partnership with OSPI and West Ed to increase inclusionary practices across Washington State. The IPTN envisions a future where every student in Washington State has improved access to rigorous and standards-based instruction and improved post-secondary outcomes based on their strengths, preferences, goals, and needs. The IPTN works to disrupt segregated systems and reduce exclusionary practices in all Washington State schools. Its focus is on addressing inequities to improve outcomes for students with intellectual disabilities and Black students eligible for special education services. Since its launch in 2019, originally called the Inclusionary Practices Project, or IPP, the IPTN has evolved to address systemic barriers that exclude these student groups from the general education classrooms. State data continue, however, to reveal inequities, with these students being disproportionately excluded from inclusive settings. The UW Herring Center's work within the IPTN is committed to reducing restraint and isolation, expanding inclusive early learning centers, as well as supporting and promoting inclusive and equitable educational environments statewide. We do this by continuing to highlight inclusionary practices through partnerships with districts and featured schools who graciously share their journey and invite visitors for a transformational visit experience. Although all of our demonstration site partners feature inclusionary practices, we now have two categories of demo sites. The first is the continuation of the inclusionary practices, or IP demo sites. In the spring of 2023, we were pleased to welcome districts and sites highlighting practices to reduce restraint and eliminate isolation, or RREI demo sites. In total, we support 21 demonstration sites across 16 districts. Each demonstration site is on their own journey. Thus, high leverage moves align to individual school cultures and priorities. And for schools to have lasting impacts, district scale and sustainability are critical. I want to now introduce Becca Anderson, the Director of Student Services for Mukilteo School District. She's here today with a team of educators from Mukilteo Elementary School in Mukilteo. Becca, I'll turn it over to you to talk about district efforts as well as introduce your ME team.
Thank you, Shane. I'm Becca Anderson, the Director of Special Services here in Mukilteo School District. Joining me today to share our journey is Jack Sackett, the principal of Mukilteo Elementary, Dana Giacchetti, one of our multilingual teachers, Brandon Tepley, the Dean of Students, and Bridget Songstad, one of our special education teachers, specifically in our Mukilteo Behavior Support Center. As we start our journey, I'd like to take you through an overview a little bit more to better understand Mukilteo School District and the students that we support. MSD is home to approximately 15,276 students. Our student population has shifted significantly over the past 5 to 10 years, especially our students who are multilingual and those that receive special education services. Mukilteo School District's demographics are more similar to the Renton School District, more than our neighboring districts of Edmonds or Everett. we have over 110 languages spoken in the homes of our students. Mukilteo has worked hard over the last few years to align its vision and mission. We have launched a new strategic plan in November of 2022 to align our efforts and better support our students. This plan was needed as the needs of our students have significantly changed over the years. The plan is intended to unify our efforts to improve student outcomes in academics and address ongoing needs for social emotional supports. The vision and mission statements guide work in all of our departments as we align our efforts to improve student outcomes for all. As part of our work with the strategic plan and in its development, we have identified the following core values by all stakeholders as our foundational values to ensure student success for all students who attend Mukilteo School District. In this work and as part of this partnership, there were some high leverage moves that occurred at the district level and specifically at Mukilteo Elementary. Today, we will be sharing many of these moves that have brought us here together on this journey. At the district level, we developed a new strategic plan. This led to work around the development of our multi-tiered systems and supports, along with the use of DataWise as a tool and a system to review data and identify our ongoing efforts to improve student outcomes. At the building level, specifically at Mukilteo Elementary, I've had the opportunity to partner and address ongoing needs around staffing and responding to students with significant social and emotional learning needs. The data we've collected has noted not only an increase in the use of restraint and isolation, but a decrease at times in opportunities for inclusion for students who participate in many of our specialized programs. This led us to our work and our ongoing efforts to make student outcomes improve for all of our learners. With that, I'd like to share just a couple of updates on our strategic plan. While there are 4 goals in our strategic plan, I would like to highlight 2 of the goals that have really centered our work as part of this journey. Goal 1 highlights our work as it reflects to supporting students in social, emotional, and behavioral needs. It centers on ensuring students have a strong sense of belonging, as well as a decrease in our out-of-school discipline. This goal directly correlates to our work with reducing isolation and restraint. We all know that when students feel like they belong, they are more willing to engage and feel connected to the school environment. This is the center of our work. As part of the strategic plan, we also develop priority strategies. As you will see here in taking a deeper look into Goal 1, we call out strategies that emphasize inclusivity, collaboration, and social emotional development to enhance student success. Goal 2 of our strategic plan really centers around students' academic success in the classroom setting. This goal directly correlates to our work with ensuring meaningful, inclusive opportunities for all of our students and has led us to the path of really looking at which populations are not being included as much and why. Again, as we look at these priority strategies, we see that this framework emphasizes evidence-based strategies and collaboration to enhance teaching effectiveness and student success. This year, Mukilteo School District is in year 2 of its implementation of MTSS. We have a long way to go, but we've got started. We have been focusing on system improvement at the district level and then starting to dig in as buildings to identify what supports and systems are needed to improve our student outcomes. We have been using a process called DataWise to analyze data and develop our next steps in addressing student learning needs. This has led to our goal of focusing on Tier 1 instructional practices, specifically around the needs of our multilingual learners, not only at the district level, but at all of our individual building sites. So why are we here? Why are we focused on reducing isolation and restraint? As we look at our data, we have noticed throughout Mukilteo School District, we're seeing a significant increase in the number of students that are exhibiting significant behaviors and have delays in social emotional learning. We've seen an increase in the number of students that require specialized programming needs to address all of their learning needs. And we've noted that over time, there is an increased need in building program capacity, both around staff retention, but also with the provision of professional development for all of our staff who are supporting students throughout our school district. As we look a little bit more into our data as part of our work with the Herring Center and our grant work with OSPI, we've noted some trends in our data that I would like to share with you. We've noted that over time, we're seeing an increase in the number of restraints and isolations across the district. Part of this is due to increased reporting, but also due to a rise in the number of students that have significant needs. Looking closely at the different trends in our data, we've noted that males are more likely to be restrained or isolated than females. We've noted that elementary age students are more likely to be restrained or isolated than our students in secondary programs. And we've also looked a little bit deeper at which programs are using isolation and restraint more frequently. And that brought us to part of our partnership with Mukilteo Elementary and the Behavior Support Center in identifying what are some additional needs and tools that we need to apply to ensure that our student outcomes are improving. Again, summarizing those trends, we're noting many are elementary aged. Most of our students are served in special education, specifically within a specialized program. Our males are more likely to be isolated or restrained than our female students. And students in our Mukilteo Behavior Support Center are more likely than their peers in other programs. So why are we here? Why do we want to get better? Meaningful inclusion has been an area of focus in Mukilteo School District for many years. We continue to look at our data specific to LRE and ensuring that students are served in the least restrictive environment. And we continue to look at what are our barriers to inclusion. Where are the places where we find that difficult to provide meaningful, inclusive opportunities for all of our students? We're also here because the data suggests that the students in our Mukilteo Behavior Support Center are more likely to be isolated or restrained compared to their peers receiving special education services in other settings.
Thank you, Becca. As Becca mentioned earlier, when reviewing district data, for Mukilteo Elementary that houses a behavior program supporting students from across our school district, it became clear to us that we were seeing a higher number of restraint and isolations than many other settings. We were finding it especially challenging for new students joining Mukilteo Elementary each year, or who even made a program change to Mukilteo Elementary during the school year. In relation to this, we identified some barriers that needed to be addressed. Clear teaching of coping strategies to support social, emotional, and behavior needs of students, inconsistent communication between special education and general education teachers, inconsistent response to individual student needs, and these last two led us to being part of the reducing restraint and eliminating isolation work. At Mukilteo Elementary, our mission is to develop leaders who soar, seek success, overcome challenges, and achieve goals, and reach high. We're working to develop leaders as part of our K-5 classroom system. Mukilteo Elementary is made up of 522 students currently, 11% multilingual learners, not as high as our district numbers in that area. 17% qualifying for special education services. And you can see the rest of our staffing breakdown there. We're a non-title school with just LAP support, partial LAP support in terms of FTE, and partial ML support in terms of FTE as well. I would say, like the district, Mukilteo Elementary has been on a journey of inclusion. This began when I started here 8 years ago, which is about the same time that the word inclusion started being used across the district as well. At the time that I joined Mukilteo Elementary, all students were not included in their general education class lists. So that's something we had to begin as the very first steps of refining our process here at Mukilteo Elementary. Next, we began planning how to increase student inclusion in classrooms, and we knew that this was reliant on the work of general education teachers and special education teachers and specialists working together. And that involved increasing push-in support. Now we're at a time where we're continuing that work of collaboration and really trying to expand that push-in support for students. One of the inclusionary practices that we value is the leader in me. It's a foundational component that's been a part of Mukilteo Elementary for the past 15 years. It's based on the work of Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, with adaptations and a curriculum for teaching students in a school setting. At each grade level, there's over 100 lessons available for teachers to use to build a common language related to learning to lead self, learning to lead and work with others, and developing holistic learners and individuals in our students. Every grade starts the year with a series of lessons that reintroduce the habits in a new way. For returning students, this provides review, and for new students, an introduction to the habits. New staff are also provided opportunities each year to attend training that focuses on understanding the 7 habits and underlying principles and how we apply them in our own lives. Grade level teams agree on lessons to be taught to support student understanding of managing self, working with others, or taking care of one's body, mind, and soul. Often these topics are integrated into natural opportunities in the classroom, such as when analyzing characters in stories or through writing prompts. Other times, components of the 7 habits are more directly presented. For example, connected to habit 1, be proactive, a lesson might be about using calming strategies to breathe, ask for help, and move to calm when feeling big emotions. Another component that we've integrated at Mukilteo Elementary are morning meetings. In our classroom, we have morning meetings made up of activities to support connection. These include varied greetings, sharing opportunities, reviewing the daily schedule, and also group activities. The group activities are a place where staff regularly visit Leader in Me or 7 Habits lessons in a more direct way. This is a great place for all students to be welcomed and heard as part of the classroom community. In an effort to create opportunities that promote student inclusion as much as possible, we have implemented calming spaces in nearly all classrooms that students can use when they become upset or frustrated within the classroom setting. As you see pictured here, these are small spaces in the corner of the classroom that typically have a collection of fidgets, sensory tools, books, and other things that students can use to help deal with emotions in the moment and within the classroom. These spaces typically have a timer for students to set, and classroom expectations are set and taught for using the space and returning to join the rest of the class and what they're doing. Teachers within their classrooms provide instruction for how to use the calming space and make sure that everyone knows the purpose of these locations. Through this instruction, teachers work to normalize the process by making sure that it is known to be a space that is open to everyone, and then giving every student a chance to practice using the space while regulated.
Our leadership work and focus on teaching the 7 habits is combined with our 3 overarching principles of safe, kind, and responsible. We use positive behavioral intervention and support, or PBS framework, to teach students what the expectations are for all locations across the building. This is an example of the common expectations that have been established for classrooms, with the understanding that each individual classroom needs to work together on a common expectation for their group of learners as well. At the beginning of the year, and after longer breaks such as winter break or spring break, staff are provided lessons to teach the expectations in all areas of our building, including playground, lunchroom, hallways, assemblies, and others. Posters like this one are displayed around the school for staff and students to refer to as well. This work has helped create a common language for all staff and students to be able to refer to our safe, kind, and responsible expectations. As part of our positive behavior support work, we have also established clear ways to recognize students who are meeting expectations. All staff are able to acknowledge students with SOAR tickets, as you see pictured here, when they are doing the right thing or participating appropriately in any part of the building. With the SOAR tickets, all students can shop at our SOAR store, which is held approximately every other week, where students can trade or purchase a wide range of things, including tangible items like stickers, pencils, and bracelets. They can also purchase privileges such as extra recess time, sitting with a friend at lunch, or becoming a teacher assistant, and also recognition such as having their name on the parking lot reader board or being acknowledged in the school newsletter.
As Becca said earlier, as a district, we are in the beginning stages of learning about multi-tiered systems of support. Mukilteo Elementary had the privilege of sending 8 staff members to the WASA Integrated MTSS conference this past summer, with the goal to increase Mukilteo Elementary's knowledge base of multi-tiered systems of support. Our group has brought back what we learned and provided some professional development to staff around how to think about supporting students with a multi-tiered approach for social emotional learning and academics. As we continue to deepen our understanding, we have focused our efforts on the 3 aspects of the Washington State MTSS framework. These include evidence-based practices with a focus on Tier 1 instructional strategies that can support all learners, a continuum of supports, which is making sure we are understanding the layering approach to providing supports and not viewing them as replacement instruction, and data-based decision-making, which means focusing on the use of the resources we have and making sure those resources are the foundation of a layered approach where our students with the highest need for support are receiving Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 instruction or support to meet their academic and social needs.
As part of our grant work, we are afforded once a month for the MBSE teachers to meet with our gen ed teachers to collaborate. Collaboration is a key component to our success in the MBSE program. Once a month, we meet with those gen ed teachers to discuss the upcoming plans for students that they're going to be doing in their classroom. We are currently focused on 3rd and 4th grade students as we aim to remove barriers for their success in their general education setting. During these meetings, we work together to address the teachers' problems of practice, to help them remove barriers and to really focus on the fact that the student are not the barrier, but possibly the learning environment, classroom support, or curriculum. The goal is to share insights and strategies so we can support each other and the student effectively across all learning environments.
In terms of the successes here to celebrate at Mukilteo Elementary, I would say we have a strong leadership culture, and students are involved in helping our school through their leadership in many different ways. We also have structures in place to teach students school-wide expectations, recognize students who are meeting those expectations, and follow up with students who are not. We also utilize the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People to provide a common language for social emotional learning with a focus on both personal development and interpersonal skills. Having these 3 things solidly in place helps us to create a school-wide foundation for inclusion. However, we are continuing to grow in these areas to become more inclusive in our practices through thoughtful collaboration between specialist teachers and classroom teachers or grade level teams. We know that students who are in a special education classroom find success with general education peers when they feel included and spend more time in a general education environment. Feeling included means being welcomed, seen as capable, and experiencing success in the aspects of the general education classroom they are in. At Mukilteo Elementary, this work includes continuing to understand how to effectively implement multi-tiered systems of support for students. This is definitely a work in progress, but something that we are focused on continuing to improve. We have evidence and data collected for many students that shows with the proper supports and plans in place, the amount of time spent with their general education peers can dramatically grow over time. Bridget's going to talk a little bit about the MBSC program specifically.
For us, reducing isolation restraint is about equipping our students with the skills they need to navigate their emotions, communicate effectively, and access support when necessary. For our students, increasing functional communication and teaching coping skills that we break down into relaxation skills, distraction skills, movement breaks, and thinking skills such as CBT skills, and then a little bit of DBT, and just their basic communication skills with coping menus and things like that. We also are updating IEPs to align with our state standards for our SEL goals, because once we realize what students are expected to be doing or what we should be doing, we can help our students navigate the world of what they need to do. Yes. Sorry.
Thank you, Bridget. Our work's not done, though. We continue to provide district scale learning and know that we need to do more in Mukilteo School District. We've focused at the district level on increasing the number of staff that are participating in right response training and understanding how to work with students when they're in escalated state. We continue to do ongoing review of every individual report of isolation and restraint and are looking at what are some other reporting tools that other districts are using and how might we change our current practices to better address these ongoing needs. As part of this project, not only with the Herring Center, but also with OSPI, I have truly appreciated the opportunity to collaborate with other districts to explore different ideas, different avenues to better understand what other districts are facing and explore some different options for different systems or tools that we might consider employing in the future. I truly appreciate Mukilteo's Elementary's willingness to participate with us in this opportunity, and I'm very excited to see the wonderful things that have been happening so far.
Thank you, Becca, for that. And I echo that sentiment for the entire Mukilteo Elementary team. Thank you, Jack, Bridget, Dana, and Brandon. It was great to hear about the work that Mukilteo is doing and the story that you guys are telling and continue to tell as you continue your journey. So we look forward to visitors in the upcoming year. And just a little more information on some Herring site artifacts and references. You can visit our IPP demo sites to see other school webinars, look at tip sheets, and check out other inclusive practices resources. And you can specifically visit Mukilteo Elementary School page, as well as the Mukilteo School District demo sites page. So thank you again, everyone, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in Mukilteo.